Before us is a package that arrived for some repairs, and this traveled a great distance, and so when I opened up the box, I could tell that it had broken in transit. At least the top had broken open. It's kind of been bashed in. And as I started to open it up and pull things out, I became incredibly worried because nothing was really together. And so I was glad to see that, there were two rockets here in their original wraps, but again, looks like we have some broken horns here, but the shell and the chassis aren't together. And an original wrap, which is pretty cool. This one looks to be at least assembled. This is the non-powered A unit. And then I actually scrounged through the box and the paper and pulled out the chassis for the 300. I did find one Alco screw that I added to the bag here, but we're missing side gear, we're missing the linkages for the crosshead, main piston rods, and so I called the owner up and I said, I'm trying to decide if we have a problem here. And I started to describe what I saw, and he goes, no, that's how I sent it. I was like, oh, okay. So this begins a project where we have a 300, and just a few things that are interesting about this. Bringing back here for a bit of an update. I've got the engine cleaned up, still somewhat disassembled, but here's this. We have a reverse unit that turns. We have a motor that runs. This is full speed forward. And this is full speed backwards. Now, this is not running very well, and when I got into this little bit, I wondered if that might end up being the case, and here's why I say that. You see how this winding is blue to purple? The same is true down here on the armature. It's blue to purple, as contrasting with this brass gold color. In the years around the Korean War, enamel coating, for some reason, I don't know the logistics, but something having to do with the war led to the coatings needed to be altered at the flyer production facility. They couldn't get whatever it is they needed to do what they always had done, and so they did the next best thing, and that was going with this alternative color. Now I've got a meter here, and I've checked. I'm going to pull this off here and just make sure there's no doubt on what I'm seeing. But I think there's short to ground on the armature, or at least I shouldn't say short to ground. It's not a dead short, but there are certainly some windings that have been compromised, I believe. So we should see somewhere around 1.3 on here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go from this point to this point, from that point to that point, from that point to that point. Let's see, is there a way I can do this so that the camera can, yeah, I'll do it this way. Okay, so I'm going to go here to here. What do we get? 1.0. Let's go here to here. See that? 0.4. Let's go here to here. 1.1. So now let's go ahead and use this one as an example here. 1.4, 1.4, 1.4. So that tells us that the coating, and unfortunately this is a known issue with this particular color of wire, the coating on this wire just does not hold up over time. It degrades. And so the skinny here, and hopefully this isn't diving too deep, but so each one of these small tiny wires has a coating on it, an enamel coating, so that isolates it from any other wire. In other words, you put a probe on there, you'll get nothing because it's insulated, which is what you want. And you take those wires and you wrap them. There's, I don't know, 30 feet per loop, let's just say hypothetically. I don't know exactly, something like that. And all of those wires act as a field. When they're energized, you get a magnetic field, and you want that magnetic field to be a certain strength. We measure that in this case using the ohms, and we want to be somewhere in the vicinity of 1.3, I believe. So as you can see, we have some ohms, but we don't have as much as we should. So that ends up with a motor like what you saw. It's lethargic. In fact, I had to help it to get started. So let's go ahead and put this one in, and let's just see if we get any difference in performance. Shorting on the now this armature I'm seeing it's a shorter, so it needs some more springs in it. It's actually in reverse, it's pulling away from the brushes a little bit, so you're not getting quite the RPMs, but look what happens in forward. Hopefully you can hear the difference. You can see the difference. This is what we would expect. We would expect a lot higher RPMs. Hi Mike, one other thing that I wanted to mention to you is I'm giving this little piece of, I'm not sure what the material is, if it's wool or what, but this needs to go at the back of the motor right there, and I can't seem to do everything with just one hand. But this is called an oil wick, so I'm going to put it in there. It's just kind of a pressure fit, and I'll saturate it with oil. And that's something that you want to, when you run this engine, especially if you haven't run it for a while, you want to put a couple drops of a lightweight oil. And get yourself something like this, or something like Tri-Flow. Again, just a real lightweight oil, just 2 or 3 drops on this oil wick just to get it wet again, and that'll help get lubrication at the back of the armature. I've got oil and lightweight grease inside the motor where the gears are, so that should be good for a very, very long time. Just this is the one you want to, it's been sitting for 6 months or whatever, and you get it out to run it, that's the thing you want to add a couple drops, and that's all you need, 2 or 3 drops, no more. Thanks. And with that, the oil wick added, we are ready to get on the layout here. Just a quick bench test. Got the headlight going for you. Everything's been cleaned and polished and lubricated and screws added and wires taken care of and so on and so forth. So congratulations, you've got a great engine. I also, just in case you're not clear, this is called a lever lockout here at the top. When it's to, if you're looking in the back of the engine towards the front, if it's towards the right-hand side, that allows the reverse unit to click through its paces. However, if you decide, hey, I only want this engine to go in reverse, when it's going that way, you can just go over here, push that lever to the side, and now you've locked the reverse unit from moving, and it will not move Reverse is kind of a silly example. Most people do forward. But there you go. Now, no matter how many times you stop it, it will not reverse. So just want to let you know that's what that thing is. Your diesel has one of these that sticks out from the bottom. Same concept. So thought you might appreciate knowing that little bit of information. All right, next away. Well, Houston, we have a problem. This is not good. So we've got a crosshead guide, this piece here, that apparently is slightly too short, and it must have come out. And then so when the wheel came back here, it came out of its slot, and then as the wheel came back around, it pushed forward, which did this. Okay, so I have to obviously straighten out this main connecting rod. I've not come across these being too short before, so I'll see if I've got another one and compare them lengthwise. Guess you'll learn something new every day. Okay, so I now know something about linkages I didn't. I found the little bit longer linkages that these plastic shell Atlantics need, so I've switched out both of them because the ones I were using, again, different engine, and they didn't match the length. So now we've got an engine here that runs very nicely. And goes pretty well, forward and backwards. I'll go ahead and add some cars to it and bring it back. So I'm trying to pull a vintage load of box cars. The first three box cars are all from 1946, and the caboose is also from 1946. And then the fourth box car is from 1948. And as you can see, we've got a coupler that is sticking way off to the side. And the challenge is these early 1946 freight cars have a very, very thin link coupler. And this one is trying to break off. So that's why I have not bent it back. But you can see how it just leans way off to the side. So I think we'll just go ahead and take this guy loose and pass it with this one. There we go.